accordingly. As of right now, the 3 automatic bids that have been clinched are Loyola Chicago of the Missouri Valley Conference, Longwood of the Big South, and Murray State of the Ohio Valley Conference. Loyola is making its second straight appearance in the tournament, and its first under rookie head coach Drew Valentine. Ramblers finished 4th place in the Missouri Valley Conference in the regular season and have a 25-7 record. Longwood is making its first ever NCAA tournament appearance. They've only been a Division I basketball program since 2012. Before that, they've been at other levels, Division III and Division II. They beat Winthrop in the Big South Championship to clinch the Big South Conference tournament title. Murray State is no stranger to the big dance, although this is their first appearance since 2019. They've rattled off 20 wins in a row to make it again as the Ohio Valley Conference tournament champions, and I also believe they're ranked in the latest AP poll. Tonight, the Sun Belt and Southern Conferences will be decided. The Colonial Athletic Conference, the West Coast Conference, the Summit League, the Horizon League, the Atlantic Sun, and the Northeast will all be decided tomorrow night, which is Tuesday, and the rest of the conferences will determine their chance throughout the rest of the week leading up to the bracket reveal on Sunday. Before we get into more bracket talk, we're going to talk about some college coaching stuff. First, Duke head coach Mike Krzyzewski, better known as Coach K, is retiring. We all knew that already after the season, to be replaced by one of his former players, John Shire, who's a current Duke assistant. Blue Devils right now are projected to be a 2 or a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament by most experts after finishing the regular season with a 26-5 record, which is a great rebound considering they missed last year's tournament for the first time in nearly 30 years. The Blue Devils played their final game in Cameron Indoor under Coach K on Saturday and lost to arch rival North Carolina 94-81. On Sunday, Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo earned his 663rd career win, breaking the tie with legendary Indiana head coach Bob Knight for most wins as a coach at a Big Ten school. Izzo has coached the Spartans since 1995 and taken them to 8 Final Fours with a national championship in 2000. This year's team has been frustrating, speaking as an MSU fan, especially over the last month or so, but the Spartans will continue the rest of the season in the Big Ten tournament and make the NCAA tournament as well. Wake Forest has extended the contract of head coach Steve Forbes. Forbes is in his second year of a 6-year deal and was named the ACC Coach of the Year. After a 23-8 season, he's been rumored for other Division I job opportunities, but this deal, the terms and the length weren't really announced, but it reportedly locks him up long-term with the Demon Deacons, who will likely be making their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2017. Now we'll get into the latest bracket projections. We'll start with ESPN's Joe Lunardi. He says, as of right now, there are 4 at-large spots left for bubble teams. Currently has Wake Forest, Xavier, Wyoming, and SMU occupying those spots, with Indiana, Dayton, BYU, and Virginia Tech as the first 4 out, and Texas A&M, Florida, Virginia, and VCU as the next few out. He has Gonzaga as the number 1 seed, and bear with me now, I know this might take a while, but since this is the last time we'll be talking about this before the actual bracket is revealed, we will have the bracket analysis on next week's show, so it could be a bit of a longer episode. I'm going to list off all his seedings as of his latest projections from 5 hours ago. He has Gonzaga as the number 1 overall seed, with Baylor, Arizona, and Kansas as the rest of his number 1s. Wisconsin, Duke, Kentucky, and Auburn are the number 2s. Purdue, Villanova, Tennessee, Texas Tech are 3s. Arkansas, Providence, Illinois, UCLA are 4s. Texas, UConn, Houston, LSU 5s. The 6s are St. Mary's, Ohio State, Iowa, and Alabama. 7s, Colorado State, USC, Boise State, and Marquette. 8s, Michigan State, TCU, North Carolina, and Seton Hall. 9s, Memphis, Murray State, Iowa State, and San Francisco. 10s, Loyola, Michigan, Miami, San Diego State. 11s, Rutgers, Notre Dame, Davidson, Creighton. 12s, he has Xavier versus Wake in one play-in, and Wyoming versus SMU in the other play-in. North Texas and South Dakota State take the other 12 spots. 13s will be Iona, Vermont, Toledo, Chattanooga. His 14s, he had Towson in there as a 14, but Towson is no longer going to be part of the tournament, as not lost during their conference tournament earlier today. Princeton, Seattle, and Longwood are the other 14s there. 15s, he has Georgia State, Jacksonville State, Colgate, and Montana State. Then the 16s, Norfolk State and Long Beach State are his automatics in there without having playing. And then his play-ins, he has Cleveland State against Nicholls State and Alcorn State against Bryant. Jerry Palm at CBS has similar brackets. I mean, I'll go over a couple of discrepancies between all three media outlets, between Fox and CBS and ESPN, after I finish reading all these off. Jerry Palm has Gonzaga, Auburn, Arizona, and Baylor as 1s. 2s, Duke, Purdue, Kansas, Kentucky. 3, Wisconsin, Villanova, Tennessee, and Illinois. 4, Providence, Texas Tech, UCLA, and Arkansas. 5s, Bama, St. Mary's, UConn, and LSU. 6s, Houston, USC, Texas, and Colorado State. 7s, Seton Hall, Ohio State, Iowa State, and Iowa. 8s, Michigan State, Boise State, TCU, and Murray State. 9s, Wyoming, San Diego State, Marquette, and Creighton. 10s, Miami, Xavier, Notre Dame, and Davidson. 11s, Loyola, North Carolina, Memphis, and San Francisco. 12s, he has Iona and North Texas as the non-play-ins. Rutgers against SMU, and Michigan against BYU for the play-ins. 13s, South Dakota State, New Mexico State, Toledo, and Chattanooga. 14s, Princeton. He also had Towns in there, so that's out. Vermont and Long Beach State. 15, Colgate, Longwood, Jacksonville, and Montana State. And the 16s, he has Georgia State, Norfolk State as the automatics. And Nicholls State against Cleveland State, Alcorn State against Bryant. Spoiler alert there, the 3 of them seem to agree on those 16 playing games. Mike DeCourcy from Fox, and it's the last one, so we'll get into a little bit of the analysis after this. Gonzaga, Auburn, Baylor, and Arizona, so same thing. DeCourcy and Palm agree on the number 1 seeds. Lenardi has Kansas up there instead of Auburn. DeCourcy's 2 seeds are Kansas, Duke, Wisconsin, Kentucky. 3s, Texas Tech, Tennessee, Villanova, Purdue. 4s, Arkansas, Illinois, Houston, Providence. 5, UCLA, Bama, UConn, and Iowa. 6, Texas, St. Mary's, Colorado State, and USC. 7, LSU, Murray State, TCU, and Ohio State. 8, Michigan State, Boise State, Seton Hall, Iowa State. 9, Davidson, Marquette, Wake Forest, and San Francisco. 10s is North Texas all the way up at a 10. That's a little shocking. San Diego State, Creighton, and Notre Dame. 11s, Miami, Memphis, North Carolina, Rutgers. Play-ins for the 12 seeds, he has SMU against Xavier and Michigan against Wyoming. It's almost like DeCourcy and Palm are the same person, the way we're doing this, from what I see now. Iona and South Dakota State, all non-play-ins. 13s, he had Northern Iowa in as a 13 seed, but they were eliminated from the Missouri Valley Conference tournaments. They are out. Toledo, Vermont, Chattanooga were the rest of those. Texas State, Princeton, Seattle are the remaining 14 seeds that are in there. He had Towson as a 14, and like I said, Towson is out. Montana State, Jacksonville State, Longwood, Colgate, all 15s. 16s, Long Beach State and Norfolk State automatically in. He has the Bryant and Alcorn matchup. He also has Cleveland State playing in the play-in, but he has them playing New Orleans instead of Nicholls State. Biggest discrepancies I see, there's a couple interchangeable teams between the 3, 4, and 5 spots. A lot of changing between the 6 and 11 seeds. You expect a little bit of bouncing around between 8 and 9 teams, but there were a few other teams that were kind of far apart between the 3 bracketologists, I guess is what we'll call them. Like I said, DeCourcy and Palm agree on the number 1s. Lenardi has 3 of the same, but has Kansas in there instead of Auburn. I find that Lenardi is usually the most accurate, so I would trust that. And like I said, teams like Towson and Northern Iowa have lost their spots in their predictions and will not be in the tournament. We're just 2 weeks away from the NHL trade deadline, which is on March 21st. Plenty of time for more moves by then, but here are the latest. It's last week's show. Somehow I missed this one on last week's show. The Canadiens have traded forward Tyler Toffoli to the Calgary Flames for forward Tyler Pitlick. The rights to forward Emil Heineman, either a 2022 or 2023 first-round pick, 2023 fifth-round pick, and a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick. Toffoli is in his 10th year in the league, decent scorer. He won't light up the scoreboard with goals, but he's capable of 20 to 30 in a season, and is 371 points in 616 career games. Also, some smaller moves. Calgary has landed Canadiens goalie Michael McNiven for future considerations. San Jose has traded for goalie Alex Statlock from Edmonton for future considerations. There are rumors out there about the trade deadline. Big names to watch so far: Zdeno Chara, the veteran defenseman; Philip Forsberg, forward from Nashville; Patrick Kane from Chicago; Brock Besser from the Vancouver Canucks; Claude Giroux of the Flyers; and JT Miller. Other NHL news: the Detroit Red Wings have placed defenseman Danny DeKeyser on waivers to open up a roster spot as forward Jacob Vrana comes back. Kaiser signed with Detroit out of Western Michigan in 2013 and made an immediate impact. He was great during his early years, but his play has certainly declined in recent years. He's been an alternate captain and played over 500 games with the Wings with 141 points. Not too bad for a defenseman. To UFC, former heavyweight champ Cain Velasquez has been denied bail in an attempted murder case at Santa Clara, California. The judge ruled that the risk was too great due to the recklessness of his actions. Charge stems from a February 28th incident where Velasquez ran down a man who allegedly molested one of his relatives, and Velasquez also shot at his vehicle. There were no life-threatening injuries in the incident, but Velasquez was charged with attempted murder and 10 other gun-related charges. He faces at least 20 years in prison if convicted and has a court date set for April 12th. He is a two-time heavyweight champion and retired from UFC in 2019. Lastly, the New York Jets owner Woody Johnson is reportedly interested in an ownership bid for Chelsea of the Premier League, which, for those of you who don't know, is a European soccer league. He has been in contact with the bid organizers who would become the fifth NFL owner to be involved with the league. The Rams, Stan Kroenke; Jacksonville, Shed Khan; the Glazer family owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers; and 49ers owner Jed York are also owners of teams in the Premier League. That's all for this week's episode of the Travis on Sports podcast. Remember to like and subscribe on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you may be finding the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will be back with a new episode next week.